أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ولا عاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له قيوم السماوات والأراضين، بعث نبيه محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم رحمة للعالمين، وأشهد أن محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عبد الله ورسوله. أما بعد، إخواني في الله وأخواتي في الإسلام، أوصي نفسي وإياكم بتقوى الله عز وجل وبعدم عصيانه، فلقد قال لي ولكم: تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا ولا عاقبة للمتقين. Brothers and sisters in Islam, we thank the Almighty Allah for the opportunity to be here. We thank Him for His mercies that He's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah alone. And we bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is His servant and His messenger. Whosoever the Almighty Allah guides is really guided, and anybody who goes astray has nobody to blame but themselves. Today is a Friday, the 10th day of Rabiul Awwal, 1446 years after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which I believe corresponds with the 13th day of September 2024. The Almighty Allah, in His infinite mercies, has given us another opportunity to get closer to Him. The fact that we are in the masjid today for Jum'ah is just a mercy and a blessing from the Almighty Allah. You know there are other Muslims out there who on the day of Jum'ah, they have other important things to do. But then we have had the opportunity to come to the masjid, not because of our own mind, it's just that it's a gift from the Almighty Allah that we need to thank the Almighty Allah for. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, especially my brother and my Sheikh, Dr. Basha. You know, when I was coming to LA to visit, he invited me over to come and meet with this beautiful community that we've been speaking about for some time. And when I came in, even from Fajr, I could see, the light and the blessing in this community. I asked the Almighty Allah to grant us more blessings and guide us and keep us safe. A couple of days ago, I was trying to buy something on Amazon. And I put in the order. Then a few seconds later, I received a notification from my bank that I don't have sufficient balance to continue the transaction. And I had to use another card. And this is everyday thing that happens to people from time to time. But why is this significant? After some time, it dawned into my mind that what if this is the Akhirah and I'm short of balance to enter Jannah? This is the dunya. I want to do a transaction. I don't have enough balance. I have the opportunity to use another card to finish the transaction. What if this had happened to me in the Akhirah? Will I have the opportunity to use another card in the Akhirah to complete the transaction with the Almighty Allah and enter Jannah? This is what kept me awake for some time. What is your bank balance? Most often than not, when we ask, people want to go into their Wells Fargo account or their Chase account and see how much money they have in there. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong in working and getting a sustenance and a living and having a good bank balance. There's nothing haram in there so long as it comes from halal sustenance. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the reality is, what is our bank balance towards the Akhirah? It's a question all of us need to ask ourselves. Because the Almighty Allah makes it very, very clear in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hashr, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. In this verse, the Almighty Allah is not calling the hypocrites. Neither is He calling the non-believers, He's calling the believers. He said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. O you who believe, اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. Fear Allah. Be conscious of the Almighty Allah. What's the message that is coming? وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. All of us should sit down and ask ourselves, what investments have we made towards tomorrow? Tomorrow in this verse is not speaking about Saturday. Tomorrow in this verse is speaking about Yawm al-Qiyamah. What investment have I made towards the day of Qiyamah? What provisions have I put forth so that on the day of Qiyamah, I wouldn't be caught up with insufficient balance to enter Jannah? What investment have I made so that in this dunya I will have built that good relationship with the Almighty Allah, that when I cross over to the Akhirah, I have strengthened that bond with the Almighty Allah, that I'll be able to have success there, and the Almighty Allah is going to grant me Jannah. My brothers and sisters, when we speak about the Akhirah, wallahi, it's not play. It's not a joke. Let me even give you an example. If you travel internationally, and then you're coming through the airport, you go through security, you go through immigration, especially those of us who are coming as visitors. You pass through and the immigration officer says, I don't think you deserve to enter our country today. We're deporting you. This is just a glimpse of something that we need to put at the back of our minds, that it is possible on the day of Qiyamah, we get there and then we say, no, you won't enter into Jannah. Maybe here, the immigration officer might tell you, will give you the opportunity to, to take out, or what they use a term, to withdraw your entry, you yourself, so that you go back and prepare and come back. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam in Surah Al-Shu'ara, he said, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Ibrahim, ulul azmi min ar-rusul, a messenger of the Almighty Allah, a prophet of the Almighty Allah. If you go to the university of the Anbiya, Ibrahim is up high there. But then he's saying, oh Allah, do not disgrace me on the day that we are going to be resurrected. The day that our monies and our kids will not be of any benefit to us, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, except the person who comes to the Almighty Allah with a good heart, with a pure heart, with a righteous heart. All this boils down to the kind of investments we're making towards the Akhirah. We live in this dunya for a very short time. Nobody is going to live forever. Even listen, none of us here in the masjid today is guaranteed the 2 rak'ats we are going to make after the khutbah. None of us is guaranteed that. Don't be surprised, I'm standing here delivering the khutbah, all of a sudden I fall down, someone else continues the khutbah, and then you go bury me. The statement will be that he came all the way from Philadelphia, PA, to visit us in Lancaster, California, and then he died on the mimbar. It's not strange, it can happen. Because that's the dunya we live in, and that's how the Almighty Allah controls His dunya. So we must be very, very wary of how we live in the dunya, because it's a very short time. The Prophet Muhammad lived for only 63 years, but then he's been in the grave for more than 1,400 odd years. The question I'm asking myself, and I want you to ask yourself, is the kind of lifestyle we're living today. When we die and we're going to be buried and they will be in the grave for 500 to 1,000 years, are you sure your 60 odd years, your 70 odd years, your 80 years, or your 90 years in this world, did you serve the Almighty Allah properly? That when you die and then you're put in the grave, you receive some insurance and some respite in the grave for 500 years? It's a question we need to ask ourselves. Our ibadah, our relationship with the Almighty Allah, our salah, our nawafil, our investments with the Almighty Allah. What kind of investments are we making? In the dunya, we might have the opportunity to what? To backtrack and what? And repair, and recoup, and re-strategize, and reinvest. But then in the akhirah, the moment we cross over, there is no opportunity of coming back to make amends. Then, so long as we have life in us, and so long as we have the opportunities, let's make good use of those opportunities, lest we regret on the day of Qiyamah. So my brothers and sisters that you're listening to us today, it is very important, in as much as we have our jobs, we have our careers, we go to work, we get halal sustenance, we have savings, we have investments, we have businesses. It's very good, it's very beautiful. But then at the back of our minds, it should always ring to us that this investment in this dunya is temporary, but then the most important investment to make is the investment for the akhirah, because the dividends there are very huge, they're very profitable, they're very juicy. If you make those dividends of the akhirah, Allah, it's a very, very, very pleasant investment to make. But then it needs us to work. It needs us to dirty our socks. It needs us to put in the effort. Because it's very clear. The Almighty Allah tells us in Surah Al-Dhariyat, وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَنْ يُطْعِمُونَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينُ. That the purpose for our creation in this dunya is for us to worship the Almighty Allah. The Almighty Allah doesn't need anything from us. He doesn't need any sustenance from us. In reality, He's the one, He's the provider, He's the cherisher, He's the sustainer, He's the provider, He's the protector. As the khatira we had for Fajr by Dr. Basha this morning, speaking about Al-Mawla, the protector, the guardian of the believer. It's the Almighty Allah. So ours is to what? To worship the Almighty Allah. Give the Almighty Allah the time. Give the Almighty Allah our attention. Give the Almighty Allah our being. This is who we are, and this is why we were created. When we come to the masajid, let's concentrate. Sometimes we come into the masajid to go and to pray. Allah seconds. Sometimes even the adhkar after the salah is problematic. That's what we do. And then we want to enter the same Jannah that the Sahaba are going to enter with these lackadaisical and lazy attitude towards worshiping the Almighty Allah. Listen, imagine if a police officer stops you and then you're given a parking ticket and then you want to go to court to go and defend yourself. When you go to the court, you take your time. You don't rush with the judge. You are humble. You are calm. You want to explain your side of the story. Judge, I think the officer was mistaken. It was a 65, speed limit. And I was going around 60, but the officer thought it was a 55. That's why he gave me the ticket, and I didn't have the evidence to support that. You take your time to explain. Then you commit a sin against the creator of the heavens and the earth. And then you come in his presence to seek forgiveness, and then you're not disciplined. And you rush into it. Our commitment with the Almighty Allah should be full of discipline. We should relax and take our time because we are having a covenant, a conversation with the creator of the heavens and the earth. If we cannot be disciplined in the presence of the Almighty Allah, then where are we going to be disciplined? We need to build that. We need to have that in our system, that our relationship with the Almighty Allah should be that of respect, should be that of discipline. We should take our time because there is a lot of benefit in that. Al-Hasan al-Basri was in the masjid teaching his students, and a man came in and said, Ya Taqiyuddin, Wallahi, we are having troubles with the economy. It's a challenge. And then Al-Hasan al-Basri told him, Alayka istighfar. In the same city, another man comes in and says, Ya Taqiyuddin, I want to get married, but then the market is very, very difficult. He said, Alayka istighfar. Another man comes and says, Ya Taqiyuddin, I've been married for some time, but then there is no baby, we don't have children. He said, Alayka istighfar. Another man comes and says, Ya Taqiyuddin, I'm a merchant, but then the roads are not safe. We have bandits on the road. He said, Alayka istighfar. After these people had left, the students were like, Ya Sheikh, all these people came with different illnesses and complaints, but you gave all of them Advil. What happened? I'm not advertising for Advil. What happened? He said, haven't you people read the Quran where the Almighty Allah said, فَقُلْتُ اسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا يُرْسِلِ السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِدْرَارًا وَيُمْدِدُكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ جَنَّاتٍ وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ أَنْهَارًا مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَرْجُونَ لِلَّهِ وَقَارًا. He said, when we do istighfar, the Almighty Allah forgives us our sins. He sends down rain. He gives us streams. He gives us gardens. He gives us children. He gives us wealth. Why don't we relax? Why don't we go to the Almighty Allah in humility? Why don't we give Almighty Allah the time? When we come to the masjid, let's sit down. Let's have a reflection. Let's have a covenant with the Almighty Allah. So strong and so effective. Wallahi, you will begin to see it in our day-to-day activities. But then, we come to the masjid. When the Imam reads a long verse in the surah, you hear us chuckling. In the salah. And the moment Imam says, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, some of us, our first salam to the right, the second one, our left legs are already outside the masjid. Where are we going to? And some of us will say, time is money. I need to go out there. There's a contract to sign. But then the Almighty Allah is the one who is going to permit that contract to be what? To be available. And then you're not having time for the Almighty Allah. And then you're having time somewhere else. We need to look at this very, very well and really strategize, because our life in this world, every step we take should be an investment towards the akhirah. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. We are speaking about what's your bank balance, not necessarily in the dunya but in the akhirah, and what kind of investments can you make towards this akhirah so that on the day of Qiyamah you find positive dividends with the Almighty Allah. It is important that we understand the importance of our living in this dunya and how well we can make use of every second and every minute and every day towards attaining this goal. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud says, ما ندمت على يوم كندمي على يوم غربت فيه شمس قل فيه أجلي ولم يزد فيه عملي. He said, I have never regretted a day like my regret for a day that the sun sets on this day. My lifespan has been reduced, but then my good deeds has not increased. Every day we get closer to the grave. Every day we get closer to our death. But then we are oblivious of this fact. We don't think and reflect over it. اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون. Our recompense, our accountability is getting closer and closer, but then we are heedless and then we are running away, we are turning away from the reality. All of us know that we are going to die. All of us here know that. We accept it. There is nobody who disputes the fact that he is going to go. But then the problem is not the dying. The problem is what's going to happen after death. تزود من التقوى فإنك لا تدري إذا جن الليل هل تعيش إلى الفجر فكم من فتى أصبح وأمسى ضاحكا وقد نسجت أكفانه وهو لا يدري وكم من صغار يرتجى طول عمرهم وقد أدخلت أجسادهم ظلمة القبر وكم من عروس زينوها لزوجها وقد قبضت أرواحهم ليلة القدر وكم من صحيح مات من غير علة وكم من سقيم عاش حين من الدهر لا يعلم الغيب إلا الله. تزود من التقوى. All of us should look for provisions of the fear of the Almighty Allah. فإنك لا تدري إذا جن الليل هل تعيش إلى الفجر. None of us know that today when we've seen Jummah, none of us is guaranteed even the 2 salah, the 2 rak'ah we're going to make after. فكم من فتى أصبح وأمسى ضاحكا. How many young people wake up in the morning smiling and happy and going about their businesses, وَقَدْ نُسِجَتْ أَكْفَانُهُمْ وَهُوَ لَا يَدْرِي, not knowing their shrouds have been prepared and they do not know. وَكَمْ مِنْ عَرُوسٍ زَيَّنُوهَا لِزَوْجِهَا وَقَدْ قُبِضَتْ أَرْوَاحُهُمْ لَيْلَةَ الْقَدْرِ. And how many of brides, and wallahi, this is a story that happened to a friend of mine. He went to get married in another city. Let's say he went to LA to get married, and then the walima was going to be done here in Lancaster. Went and brought the bride from LA to Lancaster, driving to go to the walima where they're going to have the walima. And he was driving. They got into an accident and he was the only one who died. He never even knew his wife. Story that I know. وكم من صغار يرتجى طول عمرهم وقد أدخلت أجسادهم ظلمة القبر. And how many young people that we have very hopeful about them. This young man, he has potential. This young man, mashallah. This young man, mashallah. Not knowing Malak al-Maut is waiting for him somewhere to just take him away. وكم من صحيح مات من غير علة. How many people, healthy, strong, powerful, they just die without any sicknesses. وَكَمْ مِنْ سَقِيمٍ عَاشَ حِينًا مِنَ الدَّهْرِ. And then you find people who are in the intensive care unit with ventilators on them, with all kinds of tubes. They are there in the hospital alive, and a lot of us are here who are well and doing it, and we are dead, we are dying. This is the reality of the dunya, and we need to invest towards that. And the Almighty tells us very, very plain in the Quran, where He said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا هَلْ أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى تِجَارَةٍ تُنْجِيكُمْ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. The Almighty is now going to teach us what kind of investments we can make towards the akhirah. And if we look into the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find a plethora of examples of how the Sahaba were investing their times and their energies towards the akhirah. There is a hadith by Imam Hakim, and I think Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal also narrates this hadith, that an orphan boy comes to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, my father has left behind a garden for me, and I want to build a wall around the garden. But then there is a big date tree belonging to Abu Lubaba. And I want Abu Lubaba to give me this date tree so that I can build my wall around his date tree, so that his date tree will be a part of my wall, of my farm. But Abu Lubaba has refused. Ya Rasulullah, will you intercede on my behalf? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam calls Abu Lubaba. He says, Abu Lubaba, this is what the young man wants. Will you give it to him? And Abu Lubaba says, Ya Rasulullah, is it an order from you or it is a suggestion? Because the Sahaba, if it is an order from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they don't have anything else to say. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, Abu Lubaba, it's not an order, it's just a suggestion. And Abu Lubaba says, Ya Rasulullah, I want to keep the date tree. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Abu Lubaba, wouldn't you give the date tree in replace of a date tree in Jannah? Abu Lubaba says, Ya Rasulullah, is it still an order or is there a suggestion? The Prophet says, it's a suggestion. Abu Lubaba says, Ya Rasulullah, I want to keep my date tree. And the Prophet tells the young man, it is his date tree, it is his property, we can't force him. So you just be patient, just build your wall so that you take out that date tree. A man by the name of Abu Dahda was sitting there and he was listening to what was going on. And Abu Dahda says, Ya Rasulullah, this business enterprise of one date tree in the dunya for one date tree in Jannah, is it only limited to Abu Lubaba or it is an open enterprise and anybody can join? You see how the Sahaba are smart. And then the Prophet ﷺ tells him, Abu Dahda, the business is open-ended. Anybody can join. Abu Dahda has a farm with 600 date trees in there, with a building and a well. It was the envy of the people of Medina. Everybody wants to buy that date farm. But Abu Dahda refuses. Abu Dahda then goes to Abu Lubaba. He says, Abu Lubaba, you see that your date tree? He said, yes. I want you to sell the date tree to me. And Abu Lubaba says, why would I sell one date tree to you? He said, I've had the conversation between you and the Prophet Muhammad and the young man. And Abu Lubaba says, okay, how much are you going to buy the date tree? He says, do you see my date farm, 600 trees in there? He said, yes. He said, I'm willing to give you my 600 date farm in exchange for your one date tree. Abu Dahda and Abu Lubaba shake hands on the deal, and Abu Dahda rushes back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I've been able to purchase that date tree from Abu Lubaba. I'm giving it to you to give it to the young boy so that I'll get a date tree in Jannah. Abu Dahda rushes home to his wife, and then he calls her, Ummu Dahda. She comes out, and then she asks him, what's going on? He said, I have sold our farm. She knew her husband was a very astute businessman. And then she told him, how much did you sell the farm for? And then he told her, I've sold it for a date tree in Jannah. And she said, Rabi al-bay ya Abu Dahda. Abu Dahda, you've never had a better business deal than this one. And then she shouted to the kids, come out, come out. We no longer have power over this building. We've given it to the Almighty Allah. In another narration, some of the kids have some dead fruits in their mouth. She put her finger in their mouth and pulled it out, and then she told them, this is no longer halal for us because we've given it to the Almighty Allah. What investment are you making towards the Akhirah? What of the things that you love the most are you giving out for the pleasure of the Almighty Allah? During the time of Umar, during the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar ibn Khattab goes out in the outskirts of Medina trying to find someone that he can strike a business deal with. Then he sees a cottage, he says salam, and a blind old woman comes out of the cottage. And Umar ibn Khattab asks her, who are you? She said, I'm so and so. What are you doing here? She said, this is where I stay. Do you have anybody to take care of? She said, my son went to jihad with the Prophet Muhammad and then he passed away. Okay. Who helps? She said, nobody. He said, okay, no problem. I'm going to bring you food in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. I'm going to sweep the place. I'm going to take care of you. That's it. And as he turned to leave, she asked him, what will I do for you in return? Umar ibn Khattab says, the only thing you can do is you keep this between me and you and Allah so that nobody knows about it. Umar ibn Khattab continues taking care of this woman. One day, he comes in late. By the time he got there, someone had beat him. Someone has swept the place, has put food for her. And Umar was like, what happened? She said, yesterday before you left, after you left, another man came here. He said he was going to help me. The same thing. And then Umar asked her, who is that person? She said, the man also said, I should keep it between me and him and Allah alone. Since I didn't tell him about you, I'm not telling you about him. Okay, no problem. Umar was anxious. Who is this man? He came earlier and he saw someone clothed
covered up, entered, served the woman, came out, and Umar rushed to the man, and the man's, face covering fell off. It was Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Umar ibn Khattab says, Ya Khalifat Rasulillah, is there any good deed that we will be able to compete with you in? Every good deed you are beating us. We have a lot of examples that we can give in finding ways of investing with the Almighty Allah. There is the famous hadith that we all know, where the Prophet Muhammad says, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمْ إِنْقَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. And amongst these things, he said, صَدَقَةٍ جَارِيَةٍ. What kind of investment are you going to make that is going to continue after you're gone? We have people who are facing challenges. Our brothers in Gaza and in Palestine are facing a lot of challenges. We're here today. We have the peace and the tranquility to pray Jum'ah without nobody harassing us. But our brothers are there facing the challenge. I read, someone wrote a post on Facebook that in Gaza, they pray 6 times a day. I was like, 6 times a day? How? And then went on, it says they pray Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and Janazah. Every day, all the time. Some of us are here, we've even forgotten the last time we ever even prayed in a Janazah. But our brothers are there. They're going through that. Not only in Gaza, even in the Dafat al-Gharbiyya, in the West Bank, they are there. Look at Syria. Look at Iraq. Look at Yemen. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Libya. Look at Mali. Look at Guinea. Look at Niger. Look at all these different places in the world that are Muslim nations and see the suffering and the chaos that they are going through. What kind of help can you give them in a way that is going to be an investment with you and the Almighty on the day of Qiyamah? If there are any avenues that you know of that you can support them through dua, through cash, through kind, through provisions, then you can help them. Wallahi, it is a must around your neck to do that if you have the capabilities and the abilities to do that. Because if you go to the Akhirah, what kind of explanation will you give to the Almighty Allah that your brother, whether far away or near, and you can help him and you didn't do that? What answer are you going to give to the Almighty Allah? The second thing I'm going to speak about in the hadith is awwaladun salihun yad'u lahu. You leave behind a righteous child who remembers you and he says a dua for you. This is a whole different class on its own. But then I'm going to ask myself a question and you a question. The way we are nurturing our kids. When we die today, are you sure they will remember you and say a dua for you in the grave? It's a question we need to ask ourselves. اللهم اعز الاسلام والمسلمين واذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر اعداء الدين وانصر اخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان في غزه وفي فلسطين وفي شيشان وفي العراق وفي اليمن وفي سوريا وفي ليبيا وفي الصومال وفي السودان وفي النيجر وفي مالي وفي غيني. اللهم انصرهم على اعدائهم. اللهم من أرادنا وأراد الإسلام بسوء فرد كيده عليه. اللهم من أرادنا وأراد الإسلام بسوء فرد كيده عليه. اللهم آمنا في أوطاننا وفي سائر بلاد المسلمين. اللهم أصلح لنا ولاة أمورنا. اللهم أصلح لنا ولاة أمورنا وفي سائر بلاد المسلمين. اللهم إن كان رزقنا في السماء فانزل وإن كان في الأرض فاخرج وإن كان بعيدا فقرب وإن كان قريبا فيسر وإن كان يسيرا فبارك لنا فيه وإن كان يسيرا فبارك لنا فيه برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. قوموا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.
الله أكبر الله